According to Brian D. Ray, there were about 3.1 million homeschool students in 2021 to 2022 in grades K through 12 in the United States, roughly 6% of school-aged children. There were about 2.5 million homeschool students in spring 2019. That's between 3 to 4% of school-aged children. The homeschool population has been growing at an estimated 2% to 8% per annum over the past several years, but it grew drastically from 2019 to 2022 to 2020 to 2021. Do you have any ideas on what I'm going to be speaking about? I am here to discuss the pros and cons of homeschooling after the pandemic. I will reveal the different pros and cons of homeschooling after the pandemic, such as growth, cost, overall academic stats, and emotional and mental well-being of children. My research for this speech was found in Hamlin, Daniel, and Paul E. Peterson, Homeschooling Skyrocketed During the Pandemic. But what does the future hold? It may be less of an either-or option, as homeschooling is combined with online experiences, neighborhood pods, cooperatives, or joint undertakings with public and private schools. Also, I'll be getting my information from Gale Academic One File by Brian D. Ray. And I also will be getting my information from a systematic review of the empirical research on selected aspects of homeschooling as a school choice. It's a journal entry of School Choice, International Research and Reform. First, we will discuss the growth of homeschooling that has taken place in the years 2020 to 2021 school year. Brian D. Ray states, by September of 2020, several U.S. state governments and private homeschool organizations have reported growth of rates of 20% to 75% compared to the same time years ago. This shows that the perspective a lot of families and parents have about homeschooling has changed drastically. Some people may have never thought of homeschooling before the pandemic came along and forced everyone to homeschool. People may have never realized how homeschooling worked if they technically were not forced into it. Research has shown that many people of all backgrounds have become successful in homeschooling their children, and about 41% of the homeschool students in the United States belong to the ethnic minorities of Black, Asian, Hispanic, and other. Next, the cost of homeschooling is also a lot cheaper than sending a child to school. Families could save about $13,000 per student per year of tax savings. And the USA taxpayers saved at least $32 billion during the 2019 to 2020 public school year. If you remember, schools were closed the 2019 and 2020 academic year, so that amount of savings is for U.S. students all over. There are common reasons that people choose to homeschool. Customized curriculum for each child as an alternative education approach when public or private institution schools are closed due to acute health situations such as related to diseases, COVID-19, coronavirus. Teach and import a particular set of values and beliefs and worldview to children and youth. The levels of college recruitments have increased tremendously relating to home-educated students. The next point is the academic achievement for homeschooled children. Children who are homeschooled has been shown to outperform public children on standardized academic achievement tests. Homeschooled children outperform their institutional public school peers by 15 to 30%. Finally, the social, emotional, and psychological development can be a bit of a challenge to see any positivity coming out of it. Some people look at it as a child being by themselves all day, every day cannot be good for their mental state and emotional well-being. But research by Brian D. Ray has shown that 87% of peer-reviewed studies on social, emotional, and psychological development show homeschool students perform statistically significantly better than those in convention schools. Well, let us think about all the things that happen in a public school, such as abuse, neglect, fatalities, and bullying. Yes, in some cases, abuse can still take place at the home, but those same factors can occur in public school because that would be who that parent is regardless. A challenge some may face with homeschooling is, how can I work and homeschool a child? It is very difficult to work a full-time job while homeschooling a child full-time. It will take a lot of planning and willingness to be flexible, be attentive, be willing to learn more academic content by yourself. Another disadvantage is not being confident you are teaching the child as a professional would teach. Many cases, parents may feel, I have not been in school many years. How do I know if everything I am teaching my child is current and accurate? Many critics of homeschooling are more worried about ineffective or misguided instruction. So this makes people feel homeschoolers should stick to standard educational materials and that their children should have to take statewide tests to measure their academic progress. A con would also be that homeschooling is paid out of pocket. They are not dependent on public tax-funded resources for the child's education. Today, we discussed the pros and cons of homeschooling a child after a pandemic and covered the growth, costs, overall academic stats, and emotional mental well-being of homeschooled children. In a national poll conducted by EdChoice in 2021, 60% of parents held more favorable views toward homeschooling as a result of the pandemic. Thank you.